Welcome to the beloved community at River of Grass Unitarian Universalist Congregation, both here in person and live streamed on Zoom and Facebook. We celebrate all the ways we find to gather in our beloved community in body and in spirit as we go and grow and flow the River Way. I'm the Reverend Amy Carol Webb, and my pronouns are she and they. You here in this room, we welcome you. You on Zoom and Facebook, we welcome you. However you made your way among us this morning, we welcome you. Let us pause together to enter into this time as we connect again with one another, with the holy by any name, in the light of love within us all. While we remain mindful that not everyone can breathe easy, nor find it easy to breathe, let us pause here in the headlong rush of our lives to breathe into our time together. In this congregation, it is our mission to nurture our spirits, love intentionally, and create a just and healthy planet in our enduring search for truth, meaning, and faith. What we share here is not an unchanging dogma, but an affirmation that we are called to be agents of love and of justice, and to build a world where everyone is cherished for who they are. This morning, we conclude our February exploration of what it means to be a people of belonging with these words from our 20th century Unitarian Universalist theologian, the Reverend Kenneth L. Patton. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that family and friends surround us to restore their images on our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and language. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who with us seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces, their voices stir in the surrounding air, the warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies, in the house of worship. It is good. It is good to be with one another. Let us mark this moment with our theme hymn, Where You Go, I Will Go, beloved. It is a piece written by Shoshana Jedwab and sung by our choir this morning. We've been singing it all month, so some of those lyrics have made their way into your heart. Feel free to sing along as our choir brings us, Where You Go, I Will Go. It is a vow of friendship and family, a vow that comes from the book of Ruth in the Hebrew Scriptures, when she says to Naomi, where you go, I will go. Sorry, I have to adjust the button. Something got pressed and it's the wrong key. I pulled up a chart and transposed. We're all having one of those days, y'all. Hold on, open up your hearts. Open up your hearts. The obstacle becomes the way. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, a beacon of religious liberty shining down through generations, now ours to hold high. As we light our chalice together this morning, let us join our voices with these words. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with joys and sorrows. Oops, we're waiting. We got it there? Yes. Yes, we'll line it out. We will line it out. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope. Sign of our quest for truth and meaning. In celebration of this life, we share together. In the light of love, you know, we didn't always have PowerPoints. We didn't always have printed orders of service. I grew up with folks telling folks what we're doing next and then doing it. So let's return to some of the traditional ways of any place we come from. Our covenant is a symbol also of our faith, and we renew it every Sunday as we say together, love is the spirit of this congregation. Love is the spirit of this congregation. And service is its law. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace. To seek the truth in love. And to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta congregación. Y el servicio su ley principal. Esta es nuestra gran promesa. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad a través del amor y ayudarnos mutuamente. I also would like to ask y'all, yeah, that's beautiful. I think we'll do this. I think the obstacle becomes the way. That's the theme for today. I think when the obstacle comes in the way, it shows you what the next steps will be. That's what we're going to be talking about. Now, those of you who have your cell phones, could you turn off your Wi-Fi? Our video is cutting in and out because there's a car show and 2 other congregations meeting on this premises, and everybody's using the same Wi-Fi. So if you can possibly do without it, turn off your Wi-Fi while you're in here. Open up some bandwidth for our folks who are meeting with us from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, via Zoom and Facebook Live. In our community each week, we share pieces of our lives. We take a moment to share joys and sorrows and gratitudes, here with people who love us for exactly who we are, where we are right now. Here in the room, we will share from the book. If you're in Zoom and would like to share a thought, a prayer, a joy, or a concern, please write it in the chat and we will lift these up together. And now in the quiet of this hour, if there is something on your own heart that you wish to mark in this moment without words, we welcome you. We realize that anytime we come into community, we bring our hearts with us, and there are things in our hearts we know when we come in, and there are things in our hearts that arise once we are here. Sometimes joys, sometimes sorrows, sometimes contemplations, sometimes concerns. And we realize the power of community to support us in all of our journey together. So this moment, if you have something on your heart you would like to leave here in the midst of community, please come forward and take a stone of reflection and offer it into the water of cleansing and renewal. source of all, called by so many names, none of which we can fully know nor understand. We come making ourselves more willing to have our hearts seen, even as we learn to be better seers of hearts. We know that the things we bring into the power of beloved community are profound. That when we bring our sorrows and our burdens, they are lightened, and when we bring our joys and our celebrations, they are brightened. We understand that it is the connections between us, it is connections between us and our neighbors, it is connection between us, our neighbors, and our world that offers the opportunity for transforming ourselves and for making this the world we dream about. Everywhere there are troubles today, we are mindful that we are so gifted to be amongst those with whom we can share our troubles and our triumphs. Guide us as we companion one another through the journeys of life, whatever those may bring, as we navigate the obstacles that come into our path. May we make them the way. We lift all these things in the name of all that is holy. Amen, amen, amin, aho, ashe, namaste, blessed be. And so it is. And we seal this prayer with a sung response. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung. Through every land, by every tongue. May it be so. This morning, our heritage and our hope are found here. We like to mark those who came before us, who made the way for us, and those who are continuing on the way to carry into the next generations. This week, we find our heritage in Arthur M. Schlesinger, Jr., the 20th century American historian and social critic. After forming Americans for Democratic Action, Schlesinger became the primary speechwriter for the presidential campaign of Adlai Stevenson. That's going back, y'all. Who was also a Unitarian. After serving the presidency of John F. Kennedy and the tragic presidential campaign of Robert F. Kennedy, Schlesinger became a loud and persistent critic of the Nixon administration, about which he coined the term imperial presidency, and published a book by the same name. About media, he famously said, "Television has spread the habit of instant reaction and stimulated the hope of instant results." This morning, we find our hope in An Shao Mina. Here in the 21st century, we move from television to the internet with the scholar An Shao Mina, who is a technologist, researcher, artist, and an author for our flagship Unitarian Universalist Beacon Press, the same one that published the Pentagon Papers. In her book entitled Memes to Movements, she examines how social media is changing protest and power the world over. Her research underscores that our human need to both develop our own identities and join those identities with community drives social media in much the same ways as the historic town square, just with different technologies. For her work, she says, "I hope to be remembered as someone who lived her life with both passion and compassion." Here we find our heritage. Here we find our hope. We sustain and strengthen this beloved community and its work in our world through the gifts of our time, our skills, our love, and our money. Each Sunday, half of our undesignated offerings go to LifeNet for Families, which provides meals, clothing, and support for those in need here in Broward County. The other half supports our mission and our ministry here at River of Grass. Would the ushers please come forward to receive the offering? Or you can go to our website, where you can find all the ways to give on our donate page, riverofgrassuu.org. Okay. We have a late celebration. There's never such a thing as a late celebration. We celebrate when it arises. Dawn writes, tomorrow, February 26, Mindy and I celebrate 19 years of marriage. Would all our youngins come on up, and those who are not so afraid of gravity that they can sit on the rug. Not afraid, wary. I don't fear gravity, but I am wary of it.
Maybe not accustomed to it. Love it. All right, so this morning we're going to talk about our brains again. Who has a brain? Everybody has a brain. And all our brains are made up of brain matter. Pretty much the same amount for each one of us. Thank you, sir. He has that kind of brain. I don't. So does that mean we're all the same amount of smart? What does it mean to be smart? What does it mean to be smart? Maybe you're intelligent. Okay, but what does that mean? You know stuff. You're good at using your brain, okay. You remember stuff. All right, and of course, you know, when we think of using our brains, we think of tests. Our brains help us do tests because we have to remember stuff, we have to know stuff, yeah. Oh, our brains speak to us, and it's not always kind. So they help us. Our brain helps us find our keys, helps us to learn a new language, helps us know when a smell is a good one or a bad one, helps us keep calm when we're really frustrated, helps us to notice when someone needs a hug, but always ask, helps us to touch our noses even when our eyes are closed. Keeps us from falling down most of the time. Oh, and it helps us get used to cold water. Our brain does that. When we get into cold water and it feels awful, our brain starts telling our body what to do. So many things that our brain does. So if we all have the same amount of brain matter, or the same amount of smarts, why do we all seem so different? You know that kid in your class, now I'm talking to you, Katie, probably. You know that kid in your class who's the math helper? Oh, it's you. or the one who seems to never forget anything, or the one who can kick the ball the farthest, or the one whose desk is always neat, or the one who is everyone's friend. Now, I know a lot of that does describe you, but I bet there's more than one person when you think of those things, right, in your class, yeah. It's not all the same person. So here's another way to look at it. Let's pretend that each of these jars contain the brain power from two different people. Remember, they each have about the same amount, but this first person is really good at numbers, anything to do with numbers, and this other person needs to use a calculator. Numbers are not their thing. This first person is also really good at music. Math people usually are. And the second person can't quite sing on key and has trouble clapping on the beat. On the other hand, this first person is colorblind. They have trouble distinguishing reds and greens. Where this second person knows the name of every color in the big crayon box without even reading the labels. And this second person is drawn to people, loves to listen and help others, seems to know what people need, can see inside their heads and their hearts. This other person, this first person, is more of a quiet person, prefers to just keep to themselves. You get the picture. Our smarts are not at all, aren't all distributed the same. And how nice is that? I guess we need a lot of brains around us to get all the tasks done. We've talked a lot about diversity. We've talked a lot about diversity, haven't we, Katie? Because we don't see that as a bad word. Amen. And we know that we're all a little diverse. So what do we do with this information? Does this help us to have patience with people who may not share the same strengths as we do, as we have? And does it help you to show more kindness toward yourself when something is hard for you? I hope so. May we all see the inherent worthiness in each one of us and celebrate the diversity among us. Amen.
Let's sing our young'uns and their wonderful colored brains off to their classes. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Is the bandwidth improving, Ken? All right. Just checking in. We want our folks who are out there in Etherland to be with us as best we can possibly make it, knowing that it's not always within our control. It was the year 170 of the current era, And Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and Stoic philosopher, sat down to write down some thoughts for himself, a second century journaling time, if you will. Just a paragraph or so at the time, drawn from the teachings of those who came before him, but this small paragraph so concisely and directly expressed a valuable truth that it came down to us through the centuries to speak to all of us, struggling to thrive, not just in spite of difficulty, but because of it. This is what he wrote. Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or dispositions, because we can accommodate and adapt. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Okay, now wait with me for a minute here. Don't think we're about to do this morning some oversimplified pop psychology feel better self-help formula. It's not what we're doing. And it wasn't that in the 2nd century either. Marcus Aurelius was the last of the good emperors as the Roman Empire slid into steep decline. He faced relentless war, betrayal, at least one plague, and the crumbling of virtually every institution he had believed in and served with his life. Does this sound familiar? Neither is it a denial of the sincere and serious trouble and trauma so many suffer at the hand of empire in our own time. Though most of us in this room are not regularly subjected to truly unbearable circumstances we can only endure with little hope of improvement. We are not to be breezy in the face of genuine suffering, nor are we to be overdramatic in our estimations of what our obstacles may actually be, as individuals, as families, as communities, as society at large, or those we grapple with here in this congregation, River of Grass. What we are to do is recognize how and when we get stuck in some unfavorable circumstance or another and become paralyzed by our responses to it. Usually fear, confusion, frustration, helplessness, depression, anger, or some combination. And generally, if it's anger, there's something under it. Generally, anger is a feeling about a feeling. Generally, anger has underneath it sorrow or fear. And what Marcus Aurelius offers us is an invitation to find the possibilities, the opportunities, the shifts in perspective, the creativity to get unstuck from behind an obstacle, not just by being positive, but by being inventive, by learning to adjust our thinking and to take right action in the context of the present moment. To adjust our thinking and take right action in the context of the present moment. Not minimizing the problem as, this is not so bad, but transforming the problem with, I can make this good. Now, how do we make an obstacle good? Well, it turns out Marcus Aurelius wrote that down for us too in the 2nd century with 3 critical steps. Number 1, use objective judgment now in this moment. Number 2, take unselfish action now in this moment. And number 3, engage willing acceptance of external events now at this moment. Use objective judgment in this moment. Take unselfish action in this moment. Accept things as they are in this moment. So let's take those one by one. First, objective judgment. Now, that's putting the hardest part first. That's really hard for us to do. Remember last week we talked about the development of the prefrontal cortex, our reasoning brain, in opposition to the limbic brain, the primal brain? Now, our brains evolved to keep us safe, to help us to survive. Our brains evolved to handle circumstances that we are no longer in. Our brains, our limbic primal brain, the reflexive, non-reasoning brain, evolved to keep us alive and alert always for danger, mostly danger that no longer exists for us in this time, in this world that you and I occupy. There is no tiger waiting in the bushes downstairs to tear us limb from limb. And yet, our brains react to any perceived threat not at all dissimilar to the fear of being eaten alive. Then you throw in all of our individual experiences, whether they were terrific or they were traumatizing, and we find it's way harder than expected to get to Aurelius's use of objective judgment. But we can train ourselves there with practice, especially beginning with realizing that we are never, ever completely powerless. But in fact, way more powerful than we know, especially over the tyranny of our emotions. And it is in learning that we are not powerless over our emotions that we are enabled to respond rather than react, to discern rather than despair, to take time to think rather than throwing our feelings at whatever it is we perceive as threatening our progress toward our goals and our desires, which can feel like threatening our very lives. Now, it's not that our feelings don't matter. They do. So we go ahead and feel them, and we go ahead and we feel them big. We feel them deep. We feel them broad. We feel them wide. We feel them bright. We just can't be tempted to think that having strong feelings about a problem is the same thing as dealing with it. Some emotions are helpful to deal with our obstacles and some are not. We must ask ourselves if what we're feeling can contribute to changing what it is we're dealing with. And if not, then it is most likely an unhelpful emotion and would be a good moment to pause and breathe some more and get back to that objective assessment of what is. Or put a simpler way, a helpful question to ask ourselves when strong feelings arise in response to obstacles is, do I need to freak out about this? Do I need to freak out about this? Or here again, Marcus Aurelius provides us a similar question, a test we can give ourselves in moments of frustration. He suggests that we ask, does what happened keep me from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, or straightforwardness? And if the answer is no, it did not do these things, it does not prevent these things, then it's time to shift our perspective and get to the next step, to take unselfish action. I'd like to tell you a story about a time in my life about flipping an obstacle to an opportunity through action born of a shift in perception. At some point, every Unitarian Universalist minister must come before a cohort called the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, the MFC. It is our credentialing body to which a ministerial candidate submits a mountain of paperwork and writing and CVs and resumes and transcripts and sample sermons and responses to queries, and well, you get the picture. And then the candidate is given a date to go to Boston and sit before the MFC. The whole room full of long time, usually some sooner than others, but dynamic, ordained UU ministers that have been entrusted with the credentialing process for the rest of us. We're to go before them and answer their questions, to field their ponderings, and preach them a 9-minute sermon. 9 minutes, not 1 second over, be sure. It's like sitting for your boards or defending your thesis or any other enormously intimidating panel you can imagine. Now, as I prepared, I kept trying to game out how I could impress them, given that I'd been told they were looking to see a minister when they looked at you and anyone who came before them. Looking to see a minister. Oh boy, did my ego take off with that. In some really good ways and some really awful ways. 1 minute, volleying between purely unwarranted confidence and also equally unwarranted sheer terror. How could I get them to give me what I wanted so deeply and get them to give it to me quickly and as painlessly as possible? How could I get their stamp of approval that a congregation could then ordain me into Unitarian Universalist ministry? How could I show them what I had been told they wanted to see? You want to see a minister? Look out, baby, I will show you a minister. And then my supervising minister mentor asked me what seemed a simple objective question. What time is your appointment? Huh? What time is your appointment? She repeated. Afternoon. Which day? Saturday. Okay, so that's the last block of 3 days of appointments. After several days of their collaborating in preparation for these appointments, after weeks and weeks of their individual personal preparation as they plowed through everybody's materials. Yeah. So, what if you went in there not to show them a minister, but to be one for them? The shift was profound. My whole perception of this process changed dramatically in body, mind, and spirit. I feel it in my body just telling you the story. And I went to Boston not to get something, but to give something. Not to get what I so desperately desired, but to give what they so deeply needed. And a year later, I was here with you. So number 1, engage in objective judgment. Number 2, take unselfish action. And number 3, engage in acceptance now at this very moment of all. Recovering addicts learn what's called the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity, some of you know it, I know, because we say it for a lot of different reasons. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But did you know that behind the serenity prayer is yet another 2,000-year-old Stoic phrase, ta ephimin, tauk ephimin, which is to say, what is up to us, what is not up to us. So what is up to us? What is up to us? What is up to us? Choice? To be in the moment? Action. What else is up to us? Observations. Don't give up. Emotions. What else is up to us? Our perspectives, our desires, our decisions, our responses. Yeah. All of those are up to us. These are up to us. Everything that is ours to do with, handle, mitigate, direct, engage, harness for the work before us. So what's not up to us? Other people's choices. Imagination, judgment, the weather, the parking, yeah, bandwidth, economy, the economy, not up to us. Other people's actions, cultural trends, political shifts, geography, topography, the vote in South Carolina. None of those are up to us. So it turns out the most harmful dragon we do battle with is the one that makes us think that we can change things that are not ours to change. And then when we can't change them, when we're fighting that dragon and we can't change them, no matter how much we argue, no matter how much we complain, we're tempted to convince ourselves that we can't change anything anyway. So why try? But if we can willingly accept what is not ours to change, then we can begin to change the things that are. Now, let me tell you something, beloveds. This place, this river of grass, is a place that turns obstacles into the way on a regular basis. Time and time again, doing exactly as the Stoics instruct, using objective judgment, taking unselfish action, accepting what is, without even reaching back into the history as we celebrate 25 years together. Just the last 4 years, we'd wanted and talked about a digital ministry for years. Then COVID came, and in the space of a week, guess what? We had a digital ministry. The obstacle became the way. And then we vowed we'd never, ever do church in a box again. But the realities in the wake of COVID made it impossible not to, if we did truly want to be together in person, in body, as well as in spirit. And within a month or so, we had ourselves our first place and a plan and all our stuff in portable containers and the beautiful people that have been making it real ever since. The obstacle became the way. And then we had a shot at a beautiful property in partnership with a synagogue, which fell through at the last minute through no fault of our own. Remember knowing what is ours to change and what is not. The obstacle becomes the way. And so while we keep searching for a forever home and keep meeting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, we moved church in a box to this lovely place where our singing revived, because this is a great room to sing in. And after COVID, we needed a singing revival. Did you hear this morning? That happened here. The obstacle became the way. And we're about to do it again. We are about to move into a space that's a tighter fit than we hoped for, less flexible than we really need, more expensive than anticipated, and terribly, terribly temporary. A pile of obstacles right there, and you don't even want to know all the obstacles to just getting there. But they become the way when we realize that it is those very obstacles that will get us to right action, to be more creative with our congregational life, to be more determined than ever to find a forever home, one that fits us and our future by every metric possible, by every means possible. And given the state of the world around here, that's going to take some more of Marcus Aurelius's objective judgment, unselfish action, and acceptance of what is and is not ours to change. Or put it another way, we will continue to do what this congregation does quite naturally. Only we will name it, and claim it more clearly as we go forward together. Say this with me. We will see things for what they are. We will do what we can. We will bear what we must. What blocked the path now is the path. What once impeded action advances action. The obstacle becomes the way. The obstacle becomes the way. The obstacle becomes the way. Let us seal this message in body, mind, and spirit as we rise. We are so moved to sing together one more step. I miss our hymnals this morning. When we uncovered the hymnals, unpacking all our stuff, I just stood there and cried. There they are. Our books. Our theology in words and song. Y'all, you know these things in your heart. You know the obstacle becomes the way. You know we will take one more step. We will say one more prayer. We will sing one more song till we're there. There are so many ways to live our faith in the coming days and weeks. Please take a moment to listen to your opportunities to be Unitarian Universalists in the coming days. I don't have them. Do you have any announcements?
No, I have them in my head. Okay. I'm doing this for my memory, and as you can tell, my memory's not real good lately. But first of all, the APD is just ahead, opening doors to tomorrow. Now tell me that's not the best. We annual pledge drive. Where our congregation makes a pledge and we can base our expenses, our budget on the next year based on what you have pledged to give. We ask that you pledge responsibly, but please make a pledge. And secondly, at this point, I can share that the auction probably has grossed better than $17,000. It was fabulous, but you still have another day. Today at 7 o'clock, the auction is closed.
Hello, faithful audience.
And
I don't know if they're
back
coming
there
back or
on that
not.
table are some special things that didn't get sold. And you can take them today if you just pay for them. But they're for your opportunities. And I have a few things to give people. And those winners who have won things will find out this afternoon. Well, I'm taking this afternoon off. Tomorrow. Thank you. That's it.
Whew. We extinguish this flame, but not the warmth of community, not the fire of commitment, and not the light that leads our way. As we depart this place until we're together again, and it will be right here in this room again next Sunday. As we depart this place, let us hold before our eyes the vision of a world transformed and dare to transform ourselves to make it so. Until we meet again, shine on.